Prakash, there's a tradition here. Welcome. For anyone who's on, well, any of the calls for the first time, you get to say hi and introduce and let everybody get to know you.
Sure. Hi everyone. Can you?
Yeah.
I'm not. You hear him here.
Yep.
Hi. I am from Mumbai, India, and I am a web developer more or less. I do full stack right now. I work with front-end tech like Bootstrap, Vue.js, and back-end tech like PHP and Ruby on Rails. So I've been trying to join the open source little by little by giving some contributions, and I saw I think Ikiga Ruth's text about joining the layer 5 community. So I tried and joined this right now. So
Nice.
I'm
Oh,
hoping to give as many contributions as possible.
but we'll take all of them. There's a lot to go around.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, that's a list of technologies that you prattled off there. That's good. That's fantastic. Um, I don't know. You said Mumbai, but I would have guessed that you're from, San Francisco or
Yeah,
somewhere.
the background really gives that away, right?
Yeah. Well, it's pretty windy out there in San Francisco. It's
Yeah, that's my fan right above me.
sure. Nice. Oh, very nice to have you. Uh,
I'm kind of unsure about what Layer 5 really is, but I'm gonna take my time and get to know it and try and install those the mesh applications and try to play around with those. I've seen Docker, but I don't know about Kubernetes and this mesh concept here. But I'm gonna try and contribute in the website first, then I'll try and over time do with Go or Java libraries that you might need.
it's a fantastic plan. It sounds like a plan that will be successful because, as you go to contribute to, well, there's actually like I don't know, somebody else might have a better count. There's like, well, I think we just turned down a site, so I think we were at 6 sites. Maybe we're back to 5. There's a site for the Nighthawk project, the mesh. There's 2 for the Meshry project, one for documentation, one for the um, project description site. There's the Layer 5 site that was just released, just redone totally. There's the service mesh performance site. I should have been counting. Hey, there's a lot to do there. Um, the docs for Meshry as well. Well, actually, Navendu, who's the only other brave soul who's got his webcam on, is he's been recently calling for some reorganization inside of the Meshry docs, and some of that reorganization will take it'll take a little bit of familiarity with Jekyll, or someone to get a little bit more familiar with Jekyll. Not very difficult things, but kind of interesting, especially if you're not horribly familiar with Jekyll. Actually, Alonso, who's on the call, he's been making some big waves inside of the Meshry docs. Um, Alonso, we might even want to talk about some of those changes today because I thought we were like this close to merging your changes last time, and um, so we might want to put that as a topic. But very good. So Prakash, thanks for jumping in. It's nice to have you. Um, all right, very good. So let's jump into the meeting minutes here. Um, Couple of items. One, we normally list out all of the new members week to week. I just ran out of time to list down everybody else. The thing is Prakash is the only one that's on the call, so he gets all the attention. Um, uh, I think only one announcement this week, if I'm getting it right. Some of you had one of the projects that we have in the community is a set of workshops for learning service meshes. There are 3 of them One is for an introduction to Istio. Another one is an introduction to Linkerd. And the third one is an advanced Istio. And by the way, these are, so we gave that workshop the sort of an intermediate Istio at IstioCon and opened up the conference with that workshop. It's available for all of you as well. Like for anybody who's looking to, well, one, know Meshery better, and two, learn service meshes better, or even get your hands on Kubernetes, because part of the workshop takes you through all three of those things. So you're welcome to step through them at a self-paced pace. The recordings for our workshop just were announced this morning. I'll grab a link and put it in here to make sure that you can all not only follow along with the work, the self-paced steps, but you could also follow along with the recorded workshop. So that's good. Is Nikhil on today? No, I don't think so. Okay. So we'll talk about this anyway. So I'll talk about this on Nikhil's behalf. So there's a number of you that are on the call whose names I won't prattle off because it's kind of a long list of names, but a number of you have helped create a new website for layer5.io. Used to be based on Jekyll, now it's based on Gatsby. It looks so much better. It behaves so much better. It's so much better in all regards. And one of those ways in which it's better, but it might have taken a slight step back, is with respect to an RSS feed for blogs. So some of you have taken it the time to write some blogs, and they're here. You can see. One of the things that Nikhil had created on the site was contact us. And I think you can find it in a couple of areas, but this is sort of the general area, this contact. Last night, there was a gentleman, a director of product management for Acronis, I think, who's interested in the blog post that you all are writing, interested in the work that you're doing. And he had filled in the form asking for an RSS feed for the blog posts. So a couple of neat things about that. One, that proves that Nikhil's implementation of this Contact Us works. Two, it shows that there are, even without us really telling people about it, there's people that are interested in what you're doing and want to feed for it. I guess RSS isn't dead, or at least not yet. That individual, they were using Feedly, which I found to be kind of interesting because it'd been a few years since I had used Feedly. Oh, feedly.ly. I really, yeah, maybe I thought Feedly was, feedly.com. Anybody else use RSS?
Yeah, me. I use it almost daily.
Yeah. I'm not sure why it sort of went dead, or like, what a convenient way to aggregate info that you're interested in. And that's probably unfair of me to say that it went dead. Like, I think it just maybe went out of prominent popularity, but most sites, I think, still, like this blog, well, of course their blog would support RSS, but most, WordPress instances and various blogging platforms, just whether or not the theme makes it prominent or not, most of them support RSS out of the box. And so, yeah, so hopefully we'll get an RSS feed going here shortly. Should be pretty straightforward. So anyway, that's that note. That's kind of neat. This next one is Austin has been doing some work on trying to uplift Meshery.io. So Austin, do you want to show people some of those designs?
Yes, definitely. Okay. Hello everyone. I'm of I'm Augustine. I am the Layer 5 Nursery team regarding the visual designs and UI, UX, user experience, and or everything design. So lately, we've been working on revamping the current Meshery.io website, and these are the 4 iterations we currently have been working on. This this was the initial one, which we okay. Let me quickly drop the link to the design in the chat box.
You know what? I just did. I beat you to
Oh,
it.
all right. Thank you very much. So I'll give a preview of the current design, current frame. Yes, so this is the current frame for Meshery.io website, which we'll be working on the most recent iteration, and we decided to change the style up a little bit from what we currently have, and also we've been trying to make it differ from layer 5. So when a user comes in or a community member comes in, doesn't immediately say, oh, this is layer 5. So after the rebuilding of the layer 5 and next generation website, we started this, and so far this is what we've been able to come up with. um, we currently have this section which projects all the features of Meshery, the overview of Meshery, the documentation, how to get started on Meshery, and the community, adding yourself as an adapter, and also subscribing. And then you can compare several service mesh. So this is what we've been able to come up with so far, and we'll keep working on iteration to make it exceedingly amazing, both the user experience and the visuals. Um, I, that's all for. Thank you very much.
Does anyone have feedback there? Just to recap in part what Austin had said is that you can go browse the current meshery.io website, and it's a small site. It links to a number of resources that are external to the actual site. It also, in one of those bigger resources that it links to, is the docs, Meshery docs. Um, it had been a while since there had been a push to enhance the site, and so Austin is putting together some designs to uplift it a little bit. So these are the first drafts. If you've got feedback, A, say it here, B, in the Slack, or C, in a comment or a set of comments in Figma. If you don't have access or you can't comment, then just signal and we'll make sure you can. One of the things that Austin had mentioned was like to what was it was kind of a bit about layer 5, and it was, I think, to clarify, like the context there is that while Meshery is used by any number of organizations and any number of people, and while it is largely stewarded by, or it was created here in this community and largely stewarded by people who, all of you who affiliate yourselves with this community and sort of and wear that badge, hopefully proudly, but and you've put in your time and maybe some blood and some sweat and maybe some tears even into the thing, that we don't necessarily want for desire for Meshery to be, people should understand that Meshery was born of and is curated by and is loved on by this community, by Layer5, but shouldn't necessarily consider that like, oh, it's entirely owned by and tightly controlled by Layer5 as an entity, explicitly and directly and only. No, it's not. It's we try to be as welcoming as possible to well, to the users and their feedback, to other technology organizations, other communities and their feedback. Meshery itself is really extensible. Actually, it has a lot of extension points in it. We hope that others come and plug in their extensions. That would make Meshery even more interesting, even more valuable. So as such, it shouldn't look just like it's a Layer5 thing. It should look similar. It should look like a child of or a first cousin of Layer5. Yeah. Nice. So I guess the follow up there is, as some of those designs harden, I would expect you'll probably end up creating a GitHub issue or two specific to a couple of those sections so that folks might iterate on some of that implementation. It probably makes sense that as those designs harden, that in the Meshery development call on Wednesdays, we might review some of those and discuss the behavior or part of the desire behind them. One item that is a little bit of a head scratcher for me is, and here let me share my screen to call this out. I don't have an answer to this small dilemma that I'm about to bring up, but it's an open thought. So if you go to meshery.io, Meshery was the first and is the largest project that, ooh, look, we're almost at 2,000. The largest project that we have. But Layer5, all of you have created, well, you've created Service Mesh Performance as another project. And this is about to go into the CNCF, hopefully. So good. So there's some of you are contributors of this project. Some of you are maintainers of this project. Some of you don't know that you're about to do a lot more work in this project. As it goes into the CNCF, we're likely to do a lot more work on the project. Okay, so that's one. Another project is Nighthawk, or Get Nighthawk rather. And that site is very much so in a work in progress. Been a lot of really good. It's actually not. It's not too far off now. Anyway, point is, there's Meshery, there's Get Nighthawk, there's Service Mesh Performance, and there are a number of smaller derivative projects that. There's Image Hub, which Pranav Bhatt was showing on Wednesday. There's distributed performance analysis. There's a few different projects. Point is that the community has a number of projects. So while initially community members, who are individuals that are consistent contributors, that their efforts and are reflected here, and we try to uplift them and their works, that we had started by doing so on meshery.io, meshery.io/community. Over time, some of you have worked, have paid it forward enough and helped others in the community and have become a meshmate. Some of you have come and gone, and some of you come back. And so that's represented by those that are inactive, those that are active, those that are meshmates. And this is great. Over time, though, what has happened is we've created Service Mesh Performance, Get Nighthawk, Image Hub. We're creating lots of projects. We're not done creating projects. I've mentioned a couple here recently that I won't go into here, but point is, we stopped updating and curating this set of profiles. Here's what a profile looks like. Adi, nice guy. It helped out on Meshery Operator, on the Kubernetes controllers, the custom controllers that were created. he's actually inactive at the moment, so we've stopped kind of updating this, like I was saying. I'm hopeful he'll come back. He did well. Point is, we started to represent all of you here, and actually, at one point, Vinayak uplifted these profiles to include a little bit of a different look and feel, and to help elevate, all of you in your works. At one point, some of you, like I said, become meshmates. You have a badge for that. Some of you are super meshmates. Some of you do different works in the community, and so you carry different badges. Pratya is a maintainer of SMP, so he carries that badge. Point is, so Shriti was a steward of community, so she carries that badge. Okay, now that so the dilemma is, or was, or as we think toward an uplifting, or a little bit of an uplifting of Meshri.io, not an overhaul, just an uplifting, is, so some links point to external resources, so we don't have to repeat them here, like branding, for example. Hey, where do you get the Meshri logos? Well, we can upload them to Meshri.io. That makes sense. But also, of the time that we've had, we've just put into this central repository link, or the ability to download logos for the other projects as well, and their color schemes and etc. So again, I digress. The point of what I'm trying to say is, or trying to ask out loud is this the right? It takes a lot of effort to curate something like this. It's not easy to always determine whether or not someone is active or inactive. Being active or inactive isn't determined by whether or not you make a GitHub contribution, determined in a lot of ways, and none of which are easily programmatically quantifiable, which means us as maintainers need to make a determination as to when someone has stepped away. Sometimes they'll signal that and say it. Sometimes they just don't respond for weeks and weeks and weeks. And so we, determine that they've moved on. It takes a while to curate this, is what I'm saying. We have two of them, is the point of what I'm trying to get to. One of them is nicer than the other. Maintaining two, I don't know that makes sense. What I'm getting to is I suppose I didn't realize I was about to do this, but I'll probably propose that this one goes by the wayside, that we do want to highlight those that have contributed to Meshri, and show that here, but we probably end up linking to the more robust set of profiles on Layer5.io. So I'll write some of that down and ask for thoughts or perspectives from people. Nobody has thoughts, huh? Anybody want to, maybe I should call for a vote. People thinking that we should try to put an effort and time into both, or focus on one and continue to advance one.
We can limit the profiles on the other one to only people who have contributed to mission instead of layer 5.
Makes sense. We'll need to make sure, it makes sense. We'll have a process to have those updated, kind of curate them over time. There's a lot of people who are listed as active on the Meshri.io site that aren't, and a lot of people who are active that aren't represented there. We get a duplication of data, so we need to, get people's well, right now we don't have a bio on mesh3.io. Anyway, point is duplication, or now they're both, well, they're not both Jekyll sites anymore. They both do store that information in MDX files. Yeah. Any other thoughts? Cool. Okay. Hey, next topic is from Anish. Anish, I figured we might chat through one of the open issues on mesh3CTL where we're having a difficult time reproducing.
Yeah, so like I couldn't actually reproduce it, and like it was working like fine as expected on my system. Like should I share my screen? Like, but it would work even after deleting my config.
Yeah.
Like I can show you.
Yeah, if you don't mind, and maybe show people the issue as well so that they can.
Yeah. A second, I think I did not share my whole screen. So yeah. So I think the issue is recently we have added a check in the mystery that runs at the startup that checks whether you are running with the latest version or not. And if you are not, if you're running an older version, basically you get a prompt here that you can update the mystery CTL. But the issue I think is that the version that is being picked up by the mystery CTL does not contain the letter V, which is present in the tag at GitHub, I think. But like from my point of view, from the discussion, so actually, the version that is set to the mystery CTL is passed on the runtime through the LD flag. So it basically uses an environmental variable of like gate version, which basically finds the latest tag. But on trying on my system, so it's actually picking up the correct version. So I'm currently on master. So if you can see right here, the version that is being set is actually correct. It has V in it. You can see it. And yeah, even if I run like it's just run a command here, so it won't give me a prompt because I'm already running the latest tag. Right now, let me also delete my config.
There's
just add
to highlight this real quick as you go through. There's a sneaky issue that's going on. Is that when you build mesh3CTL locally, the logic by which, or the location by which the tag.
hello. Yeah, I'm back.
Okay. Yeah. So when you build mesh3CTL locally, the tag is retrieved from a different location than it is when mesh3CTL is built and released in the build system. And so you can see right here where it says client version, it has a V050,
Yeah.
at which it doesn't have. You use the built and released version.
Wait a second, someone said my door. Yeah. So like what's it is passed? Like I don't know at this point. Is it in .github workflows?
Yeah.
I like internally, like while releasing, I think it would use a make command, right?
You were you're saying internally while the GitHub action is being run, or while you're building locally?
Yeah. So while locally, we have already set it up using make, right? And it actually picks up the correct command. Yeah, if you can see my screen here, right? We pass in an LD flag and we set the version here, the variable, right? And it is being picked up correctly here. If you
Right.
can see, there's a V here, right? So and so like locally, while you were not getting V, right? And you actually did, I think, build it locally, or it was a release build.
This was a release build.
Okay, so if this was a release build, right? So this release build would have been done from one of the workflow, I think. And internally, I think the workflow would also use the make command.
You would think
I will
so,
have to.
but it doesn't. It ends up being built by Go Releaser. Anyway, there's actually even aside from that. By the way, I think that this issue that we're looking at is probably transient, given that we've. I don't know that it's just the V that's getting in the way. In part, the fact that we had RC3 and then we had RC-4, like the way in which alphabetically, as those are sorted, they get out of order a little bit. This issue
Okay.
might go away. Like, um, let me,
Possibly, I think this has been used. Yeah, Go
yeah,
releaser.
you can look inside of, so there's a Go Releaser configuration in the root directory of Meshry. There should be a Go Releaser.yaml.
Yeah, yeah. I think,
Version.
yeah, this version dot version, right?
So another issue that sort of plagues this area is if you go back to your terminal and you use a built and released version of Meshry CTL, if you run Meshry CTL version,
Yeah.
and so actually, if you do, yeah, if you would, don't use the version that you built here, but the version that you would have downloaded and installed like a user would have.
Okay, I will have to actually do it now.
Okay, yeah. Are you on Windows
Yeah,
or
I'm on Windows, but I use WSL for my
sure.
development.
Yeah, one hey, actually an ask of you is well, is there some Windows compatibility items you can look at with Mesh CTL?
Sorry, I couldn't hear you.
There's some compatibility issues with Windows to take a look at. So good that you're running Windows and good that you're downloading Mesh CTL. There's a couple of commands to confirm whether or not they work very well with Windows.
I'm actually not like using it on Windows. It's on like Ubuntu.
Right.
It's running Windows Subsystem Linux.
Oh, okay. So is this PowerShell? Is this PowerShell WSL right now?
Yeah, this is actually Zish on Ubuntu simply.
Okay, that's fine. I mean, you can still download it to your Windows system and run it from there. You don't have to do that now, but for those other tests, you
Yeah,
can.
yeah, of course. So yeah, I think yeah. Now let's run a version. Yeah, it's not. Yes, there's no V here.
So, yeah. There's two issues that have kind of been here for a while. They hadn't manifested themselves in, like they're manifesting as a third issue now that you have incorporated logic for confirming whether or not you're running the latest version of Meshry. Every time you run a command, it will check to see if you're running the latest version. And if you're not, it'll tell you, I'm telling you wrote that logic.
Yeah.
That's great. And I think your logic is fine, but it's getting impacted by the fact that there's inconsistency with the tag, the strings that are inside the release tags.
So like these versions, right? In the release build, like do they never contain V, or
They should
it's just like
always contain a V.
okay?
The V is getting stripped
So
out.
okay. Probably like the version that is being passed that is actually causing it.
Yeah, potentially. So there's one
Oh.
other, while we're in here and making a mess, there's one other item to be aware of. If you go back to your terminal and when you run mesh3ctl version, you'll also notice that the git SHA, well, I guess you won't notice it here because it's not talking to a server. But when it is talking to a server, the git SHA for the server version, it will
Let me
be,
just run the Docker too. Let's do it.
it'll be, I don't know, like 8 characters long. So for
Okay,
this,
so not full.
yeah.
Stripped.
Right. And either way will work, whether it's stripped or it's full, just so long as it's consistent between the two. So is Hussein on? No. So you see where it's asking, it's saying, hey, is Docker, do you want to start Docker now? I think, Navendu, do
Yeah,
you want
it's actually starting in background, so
that's nice. It's really convenient. That's nice. Navendu, do you want to talk about how that needs to change?
You mean the platform one?
Yeah.
Yeah. So currently when we create the config file measure.ectl assumes that the platform is Docker. So since we are adding Kubernetes support to measure.ectl, it should ideally ask the user for which platform, like when the config file is created at first, it should ask the user like which platform they are using. Or we can also add a flag when we install Measure that the user can pass either Docker or Kubernetes, which will silently create the config file instead of asking. So yeah, we need to add that change. I guess Hussaina is not on the call, but I was just talking to her about this. Yeah, we will just we'll add it.
okay. I think that's right.
Yeah, that's right. And then the missing V is still there. Yeah, we got inconsistencies on both sides. Yeah. So fair enough. We won't. I don't think we'll figure out the fix on this call, but hopefully, Anish, this gets you into the mindset of and gives you some pointers as to where to start to look. There's one other potential gotcha or like caveat here is when you build mesh3ctl locally.
Yes.
You were showing that you were passing in some LD flags.
Yeah.
Can you go back? Can you go look at that make file real quick? We had changed some logic around in there. And I don't recall where we landed, where we ended. So at one point, what we were doing is, if you go to the very top, we're setting some environment variables. So git version and git commit SHA. And we're running a shell command to grab okay. Now, so here's a third way in which something might be wonky is that you might, while you're building mesh3ctl locally, the tags are being retrieved via a git command, while when the mesh3ctl is released, it's that workflow that executes that retrieves tags, and there's kind of two areas where those tags bear weight. So one is in the workflow, the build and release workflow, and you can see the tags in there. But there's a subsequent action that's called the git releaser one, which has its own config as well. And I think those variables in the workflow get passed from one workflow over to that action. So I'm just highlighting these three areas as for you to be aware of as you look into this.
Yeah. Okay. Sure.
Yeah, and then the specific issue that I was having, well, I think as you look at these two things and you try to make them consistent, the use of V perpetually or pervasively rather, and the the formatting of the git SHA, I think if you get those two things corrected, the issue that I was having probably just goes away. Like, even though
Yeah.
you, so. Cool. Okay. Well, hey, since we're talking about Mesh CTL, and we've got about 12 minutes left, one of the other topics that we had today, I think, Aditya, did you have a topic on Mesh CTL?
Well, Lee, it's actually the documentation issue where Navindu raised an issue 2 days ago, and it's based on that work today. That's it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like it would be great if you could show the changes in the reference page, so we can take a look.
Yeah, one sec. Okay. Is my screen sharing now?
You are.
Yeah, shows sharing. Okay. So for a recap, Amindo actually raised an issue on basically the redesign. Yeah, actually, okay, one sec. It's hiding somewhere. And yeah, this is actually the new command reference and track page that you made, guys. And unfortunately, this wasn't updated on the docs page. So the main task was to, what you can say, create new commands on the doc page and show them. So this is the local post page, which I'm running on, as you can see here. And some of the additional commands were being added, and also being changed, like a double dash instead of just a config. For difference, I'm showing here. And for now, I don't know why the order has been um, changed, but still still the work is in progress. But at least I have added commands in order to get an idea. And if you can see here, the titles have also been changed according to the spreadsheet, as you can see here. Also, the new commands like the context and channel, including new flags, also been added. And the better part, the validate has also been introduced here. One sec, the internet, okay, it's unstable, it seems. Okay, it's been resolved. And the new part has been added, that is the service mesh pattern configuration, and a new table has been added here. And I'm trying to figure out why the order is printing like that. But yeah, I have at least added almost all the commands as shared in the spreadsheet. And so yeah, and since the experimental commands are not assigned yet, I have leave as a gap for now. And Yeah, that's much of it. So if any queries are there, you can ask anyone.
I've got a quick one. Do we have a draft of what the individual command page might look like? I say that with a cheese-eating grin on my face.
Yeah, Alonso is working on it right now. Yeah, yeah.
Beautiful. Alonso, nothing like getting put on the spot. You don't happen to have that handy, do you?
Well, yeah. Well, it's a work in progress, but we can show it if you like.
Oh yeah, I love seeing work in progress.
Okay, let's.
Okay.
Do I start the screen sharing?
Yeah, give it a see if you can.
Draft of the individual command page. No, that's not.
Okay. Something like this. We are working with Navendu. So we're trying to get the common name, then general usage, then a brief synopsis, then some specific usage for the comment, and then maybe some other special flags and options. About the layout, I am following the installation layout that is already on the documentations page, but I don't know if later that graphic design could be even better, or I don't know, a dark mode or something like that.
Yeah, it's a good maybe like if what happened. Yeah, it's a good thing to reflect on to the extent that we end up providing multiple examples of usage, for example. So if some of the commands you can use them in different ways, and so to the extent that we have multiple usage examples, there might be some thought given as to how to indicate to the user that, like, here's mesh if you just execute mesh CTL by itself, here's the output, here's the we probably don't, or I wouldn't think that we'd want to necessarily show the error there, like and the usage actually is technically incorrect usage to use mesh CTL by itself, and that's why they're getting the error. So it's like I know that this is work in progress, so all of what I'm saying is totally discounted with the fact that this is work in progress, but a mesh CTL dash H or dash or mesh CTL version or something like that, like, would be yeah. Yeah, or we don't want to show errors in the.
Oh, let's do it right now. And yes, this will copy the terminal message.
Oh, nice. By the way, it's nice that people can they have the clipboard option for any of these. That's nice. Yeah, I realize that it'll require a collection of you to come through and give further text, further paragraphs, like defining the behavior, or like, hey, if you're looking, or like usage examples that say things like, if you want to know the version number of Meshry, here's this. Meshry will, or Meshry CTL will automatically, it'll try to reach out to confirm whether or not you're running the latest version. Like, to explain all of that is really healthy. What happens if Mesh CTL tries to check GitHub for the latest version but can't reach GitHub? Does it handle that gracefully? Anyway, those types of behaviors are good things to describe on an individual page like this.
Okay, so yeah, let's put something like this, taking advantage of the comment asking me to upgrade right now. And also just a doubt. So we are taking all these comments from here, and that will be the stuff that are included in the individual pages, or are there some other comments?
Yeah, great question. So just to clarify real quick, by the way, this data is coming from data files.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, good deal. Yeah, Navendu, do you want to speak to that?
Yeah, this page is like currently being reworked. So we have a command metrics documentation that might have been in the issue. Let me just share it there, share it here. Like we have some other commands other than the commands shown in this page. And yeah, that would be the stuff that we add to the add as individual commands. So for example, if we have the global commands and flags and measure ACTL commands, so we will have an individual page for the measure ACTL commands, and in that page we will add all the flags available for measure ACTL commands and all the use cases of the measure ACTL commands with the global commands. So yeah, that will be how we will add stuff. I will just share the command docs playbook.
Okay. So yeah, Navendu has been explaining me what is to be expected from this. So I have I am working on the template of the comment documentation. So the file will be included on the data, machinery comments and sub comments, and then automatically included into the documentations table.
It's nice. It's looking good. It's nice. Nice. All right. Well, did we miss any topics today? Did we get everything covered?
I was wondering if anything has been happening on the configuration wizard, anything that I can do. I don't know what.
Yeah, Austin, you want to speak to that?
Listen.
Yep, VJ was just asking about what's the latest on the configuration wizard and where to help advance it.
Oh, sorry, my network has been misbehaving since. So, for the configuration wizard, we currently have a prototype, a new prototype on what we've been working on, and the major aspect to help improve it is the scroll view for the cards, which is what we'll be looking at, because the current user experience of the cards, we want to try and improve it for the scroll. Let me quickly bring out the link for the new.
Is that the one that you sent me, Austin? The other day you sent
no, a new prototype. The one I sent you, is part of it, but we got a new prototype last night, so I'll drop the link now. I have not shared the updates with you yet. Sorry about that.
No, that's okay. No problem.
Okay.
So you're working on the screens.
Yes,
because
we're
this
working on this
other aspect, right? I mean, this has to, I mean, like work in a real sense when you it has to be in motion, right? So, Ali, is this something that Is this something I should raise now, or?
Yeah, no, this is great. I think Austin is perhaps slightly behind on doing a little bit of organization, just kind of getting the same folks back together to establish a little bit of a cadence to advancing this. So really not much had been done. Not a lot had been done since last the collection of individuals on the configuration wizard had met. So let me see if I can get that help with this organization very briefly. And that is that that is to say, some of you are familiar with the fact that there's an effort that's been initiated to create a configuration wizard so that when people come in to use Meshry, that they'll get this, like 4 or 5 steps to configure Meshry, to get Meshry set up so that they can be successful with connecting to Kubernetes, deploying service meshes, connecting to Grafana and Prometheus, that kind of a thing. And so there's been a series of wireframes, mockups that are being generated here in Figma to create that wizard. That's good. There's a lot of logic that needs to follow with these steps. Like, when is it appropriate to go from one step to the next? Hey, what does it mean to execute on a step? So what's being executed on the back end? What process and operation are happening? Is it okay if someone skips a step? Like, all of that logic needs to be accounted for outside of, just the mockups, outside of just the interface. And so Nikhil, Vijay, Austin, and Bart are the handful of folks that have been giving this the most thought. So I think you guys, we convened, I think, once and kind of went through the initial drafts of what this looks like. Bart has been Bart Kalansky has been putting together so Austin's been working on the mockups. Bart's been trying to put together these UIs that don't really do anything. They're just steps. And then Vijay's been giving thought toward, well, hey, all those other things. When should you go from one step to the next? What's the sequence by which this needs to happen? What happens if you try to deploy a service mesh, but it fails, or just all of those things? So this particular effort has worked a little bit differently than some of the other ones. A lot of times we'll end up, when we create a new feature, a new function, there'll be a Google Doc, a design specification that outlines what the feature is about and how it's going to work. This one's started off a little bit differently in that it started off here in this page in Figma, and so because of that, some of the design spec, some of like how this thing is supposed to behave, has been being captured in Figma. And so Vijay, I think it's probably up to you to either continue here in Figma to kind of lay out the user flow and sort of the logic by which this occurs, or if Google Docs is preferable, to go create one of those and just kind of outline how this thing will flow.
I think maybe there'll be like a little companion to what's going on in Figma, so that I can put some of my thoughts there, and then share the document so that the others can add to it or edit it, or complete it, or whatever. But I'll start the document, and I will put I'll try to be as comprehensive as possible, but it'll be a starter effort. I'll just start off with the thoughts that I have, and fill in the details as I think of them, or somebody else can fill them in if they feel that is more appropriate.
Nice, beautiful. Hey, there's this really old design spec. It barely follows our format. It kind of doesn't, from a long time ago, when we were working on configuration wizard and settings. You might choose to reuse this doc and delete or rewrite anything that doesn't no longer make sense. It's just out there in the community drive under Meshry functional. and then installation and configuration. Or if you like to create a new doc, go right ahead.
No, that's fine. I mean, let this give me something to think about. Maybe my thoughts are all wrong. So if I read that, it might reset my thinking, or evolve from there. Or
nice, beautiful. And then the last item there is my suggestion to the collection of the four of you is. And by the way, it's not this effort isn't constrained to the four of these individuals, just like any aspect of the projects. Anyone who's interested is welcome to join in. And that's in part what VJ was kind of asking is like, hey, we had a great kind of kickoff to the effort. And there's a little bit of mock-up. There's some mock-up going on. There's some prototype going on. VJ is going to put some time into a design spec, getting some of this on paper. But like, hey, where's the next point of discussion, or like, is there a cadence to, are there separate meetings, or are we going to dedicate 10 15 20 minutes of the Wednesday Mesh development calls, or like that's kind of in part what he's looking to do. And I'll suggest this, the VJ and Austin and Nikhil and Bart, you guys want to initiate that conversation in Slack and sort of identify what you want to do, if you want to carve out a piece of time on Wednesday, or if you want to find another convenient time to meet.
Sure. I
Yeah.
mean, I'll make that entry in Slack, suggesting if somebody would like to meet and what would be a convenient time for all of them, and then depending upon what the consensus is, we can take it from there.
All right. Thanks, Vijay.
You're welcome.
All righty. Well, we're about 8 after, so I appreciate everyone staying late. And same time next week. Prakash, nice to have you. Thanks for coming. All right. Talk to you all soon. Bye-bye. See ya.
People